powerful introduction. I'll bring Karl down. We'll have a conversation. Need a microphone? This one?
No, he's wired up.
Oh, he's wired up. Okay, good. It's so nice to be hardwired. How are you?
All right, I guess. Can you hear me?
I can hear
Can you
you.
hear me? No.
No.
No. Well, I'll have to shout then.
Well, we're depending on Rover. Try it now.
All right, now can you hear me? No, still not.
We'll wait just a second for Rover to put that together, and I'll just start talking a little bit.
I live with this all the time. Nobody can ever hear me.
So it was really fun thinking about having Karl share his journey with us today. There are so many things that are part of his life that were new for me to find out. Things that I had never known anybody else that they had done. Are you ready now?
I don't know. Okay, now can you hear me?
That's better.
I can speak a little louder, a lot louder, actually.
Yeah, okay.
But now, would you repeat your question?
Oh, I was just telling them that I find some of the things that I've learned about you to be very fascinating. So that's why I was excited about being able to bring you down front and talk. And I'm going to start with just the standard ones before we get to the really fun ones, okay?
Right.
So the first standard one is, tell us about your sort of family of origin, growing up, what the spiritual environment was like and where you lived.
It was very easy until you come to that last part. I was born to a non-practicing Mormon family. And so all of my religious indoctrination came as a result of my friends taking me to church. Or another way of putting that is that by going to church, I could spend more time with my friends. The other thing I liked about going to church was singing the hymns, and I never got over that. So that's pretty much the whole. I mean, we went to church. We don't have time to explain Mormonism to you because, but it didn't really stick to me. I can tell you about it, but I don't.
Okay, no, that's good. And then, as you grew up, how did you end up coming to the Bay Area or arriving here?
Okay, I came to the Bay Area because I didn't get tenure at Dartmouth. And I called up one of my earlier mentors and said, where do we go now? And he said, well, I'm going off to work for the government for 2 years, so you come and take my place here. So I got to come to Sanford for a 2-year appointment, and that's how I got here.
Okay.
No, not here, but California.
And when was that?
That was 1971.
So 51 years ago.
Right.
Okay. And what did you think of the Bay Area coming from?
Oh, I was all for it from the beginning. It seemed like a wonderful opportunity to teach at Stanford, and we had been attending Quaker meeting in Hanover, and I liked that a lot. It was very, I don't know exactly what you'd explain to it. I liked it, that's all. And So when we came out here, we went to the Quaker meeting, and I didn't like it. It was okay, but it was different. And Norman Wade invited my wife at the time and I to come sing in the choir, and that sealed it. Been here ever since.
And so this is the same Wade that was the parents of the father of who I got the card from.
What's that?
The card that I got from someone watching online was the child of Norman Wade.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, so there you go. Here we are, all on the same day. All right. So the choir is your spiritual home, I think.
I think that's right. I was reminded as we were rehearsing today of an event that happened to me a few years ago, or quite a few years ago, actually, if I add them up. We had been singing something by Vivaldi or one of the great masters, and it came to me that people live their whole lives without ever experiencing that, singing that. And I was so privileged to have that chance to sing that song. I still do. I gotta control my emotions.
It's a privilege to have you sing here.
Well, that's another thing I say about their church visit thing, that they let me sing in the choir.
So back when I first came to the church, I was looking at the things we had on the altar, and there was a stand that we had for the Bible that was totally inadequate, in my opinion. And I was looking around the church for different pieces of wood or things that I could prop that big book up there on. And somebody happened to say to me, well, you know, Karl works with wood. Maybe he'd make something to put that book up on the altar with. And I called you and you said, I gave up woodworking a long time ago.
Right.
And I said, I forget what I said, but we started talking and you told me about making a harpsichord.
Oh, yeah. I did that while I was a postdoc at University of Wisconsin. It was a kit, so it's not quite as grand as you might think. All I had to do is put the pieces together. And the one thing about making a harpsichord that you might not think about going into it is that it's a lot of work to get one of those strings to sound right and to tune it, and there are 57 of them.
So one of the things that I've always, found some interest in harpsichord music, primarily because of Scarlatti, composed so many pieces for the harpsichord. And then because I like the guitar, there's a lot of guitarists that have transcribed music for the harpsichord to the guitar. And the reason they did that is because the string on a harpsichord is plucked,
right,
not hammered like a piano. So it actually plucks the string. So I imagine that the refinement that you need to get that position correctly is not easy to do.
Yeah, that's one of the hardest things, is to get the plectrum to have the right flexibility and stick out just the right amount, so that you don't get a whang or ding. There's something in between.
And so now there's a continuing story with that harpsichord, because you told me where it now resides, and I think that also says something about your music.
I sent it to my grandson in Tallahassee, Florida. He's now working on a degree in music education.
So that music in the families got passed down.
Hopefully it will stay. Yeah. It's in his mother's house now, but we used to sometimes bring it into the church and I tune it up and then we use it with the choir. But that hasn't happened for quite a, well, it can't happen now.
It's 3,000 miles away. So the other thing, I remember we've had several nice conversations and visits, and one of the other things that I really have enjoyed about getting to know you is getting on your email list for limericks.
Well, I had the privilege summer before last, I woke up one morning and started playing around with words, and pretty soon I had a limerick. And it wasn't bad, it was pretty good. And then I kept at it day after day, and they got better. And for maybe 6 months at least, I got a limerick a day. And I put them in a file and I started sending them out to friends and family. Unfortunately, this summer they sort of dried up. I haven't had a really good one lately.
Can you share some of them with us?
Well, interesting thing is you write them and then they forget them. But I have certain favorites that I can share with you.
One I would love to have a few.
Has a kind of religious feel to it. And it goes, like a babe in the reeds by the Nile, a limerick can end our exile. Its soft lyric touch can do very much to make us break out in a smile.
All right.
The more pedestrian one is, and this illustrates to me one of the things that I like about it and that is hard to come by, is a feeling that you're going to be told a story with some meat to it in 7 lines. It happened down by the Snake River. I remember it now with a shiver. The onions were chopped, but the cooking had stopped. The bear ran away with the liver. And this is a fairly recent one. And I think not everybody, but nearly everybody here will understand what this one's about. As we age, we must realize expectations are bound to surprise. For what could be queerer than to look in the mirror and see someone you don't recognize? I believe that's my favorite. I've got about 50 of them.
Okay. You want to do another one? You want to do another one?
No, I can't. Those are the ones that I've had a chance to practice.
Okay.
I'll get all
Okay,
tongue-tied if I try to start from scratch.
So that was a good interlude before this next question. So not too serious. So how did you come to Ladera, and just tell us about that coming and then deciding to stay.
Well, I told you that the coming, it was we were invited to sing in the choir, and then I couldn't quit. Right. But I had a terrible thing happen to me the year I came, which is my wife took my kids and went back to New Hampshire. And so that was a tough thing to work through. And fortunately, Marty Holderness was a member of the church. In fact, I was in the choir watching when she joined the church. And somebody suggested that I try to make a closer relationship with her. I knew her because she worked in the lab that I took over at Stanford, but when I came, she quit. I kept trying to get her to come back, but I couldn't do it. But 5 years later, I had convinced her that she should marry me, and we were married for about 36 years until she died of lung cancer. And one of the bonuses for me is I got 2 more children out of that, and I love children, and then I got 5 more grandchildren out of that, and so it was a good deal for me, for sure. But that's why I stayed.
Yeah. I kind of had that same experience with Stelly. I kind of saw her and tried to get her to work with me, and then ended up marrying her. So that maybe the job offer isn't as good as we think. Huh? So another interesting Karl Kuhlmann and Ann Ruthdale story was your recent trip to Brittany with your near-death experience.
Oh, I still haven't convinced myself that I don't have glass in my skin on my face. We had been to Costco, not the Costco, what did they call it? Anyway, it was a supermarket about 4 miles from where we were staying. It was a little town in Brittany called Lanrodec. We had exchanged houses with the people who lived in that house. They were in our house, and they were driving our car, and we were driving their car. And so as we came into Lanrodec, which just sits on a hill, we were not a steep hill, but we were coming up this hill, and ahead of us, it looked like there was a truck. And it got to the top of the hill, and it stopped. We were maybe 200 yards from it, 300. And we looked at each other and said, what's going on? And then we got really concerned about what was going on, because he started to back up. And then he started to back up faster and faster and faster. And I thought, I don't think he's going to stop. And he's going to, and the windshield just scattered, and then it was over. I got a few little pieces of glass in my fingers. Nothing happened to Anne. And she got out of the car, and I started to get out of the car, but the door was smashed in. I couldn't get out. So the pompier came, and they insisted on taking me to the hospital. I won't bore you with the whole hospital story, but it was a farce. But fortunately, the people in our house had been alerted before Anne called and told them we'd wrecked their car. They said, "Are you all right?" Because they had heard about it from the other people in the town, and one of their friends came and picked us up at the hospital and took us home. So it was terrible. You know, I have a hard time with that experience, because I didn't have any feeling of fear. When I saw that the thing was going to bash into us, I thought, I didn't think this is the end. None of that. It's just, it all happened right then. But if I think back about it, I should have been afraid, but I don't think I was. Turned out that it wasn't a truck at all. It was a trailer loaded with hay bales, the round hay bales they make in France, other places too, but we'd seen a lot of them in the fields, and it had come loose from the tractor that was pulling it up the hill, and it just drifted down into us. But it was going pretty good clip when it hit. But neither one of us were seriously injured, other than my little pricks in my fingers. But as I said, I still wonder whether I don't have glass in my skin that's slowly coming out. I don't think it is, but anyway, that was the Brittany story.
That's
We went out and rented a car and enjoyed the rest of the time. So
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you survived. I'm glad you survived, and I'm
Yeah, I
glad
am
that you're
too.
back here singing with us. And I just, it's such a pleasure to have you in the church with us. And
Well, I'm always surprised at that, but I'm glad people feel that way.
what else should we know about you? Is there any secret thing to knowing Karl Kuhlmann that you'd like us to know that maybe we don't know?
What was that?
Somebody said you're an artist.
Well, I was just going to say, Ann and I went to a class on iPad art, and I found I was reasonably adept at transferring photographs into my own rendition of the person in it. So I have nice pencil and pen and ink looking portraits of all my grandchildren and Eric and a number of other, some of Ann's grandchildren. And it's very, takes a couple hours to do it. And it's a very pleasant thing to do, especially when it comes out right and you can look at it and enjoy it. I guess that doesn't, I would love to be known as an artist or as a lyricist, but it's fun to have tried and have some, I know I'll never be a great singer, so that's out.
But you're a great person.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karl, for sharing with us.
Well, thank you for asking me to do this.
Okay.